words, people can sense when you're thirsty.
Basically.
Yeah, so that's why I was trying to figure out if you're going to go that way. And then I was going to ask this question with that in mind. How is it, because some people, they date because it's hard for them just to be alone. So the question is, many of you, have you ever been in a space where you were just good being by yourself?
Oh yes, I'm there now. I'm good, but it's not that I want to be alone like forever, because I don't, but I'm very content. Like my life is very peaceful, and it's like, ooh, do I really want to even give you the opportunity to disturb this peace that I have? Like seriously. So for me, in order for me to let someone in, like so many things have to align. Like I must know it's God, because I don't have time for, and you have to be careful with that too, because the enemy knows God's words too. So it takes time. It's like for me, you have to be consistent for a long time. And I do things on purpose. I mean, I'll like not answer on purpose just to see, are you like, what is this? Are you gonna give up easily? Like if I don't respond to you, is it like, oh, I don't have time? Well, if you want me, you're gonna need to have time. Seriously. So it's like, how bad do you want it? So I don't really go off of words much, but it's all action based with me. And even like with my lifestyle, are you okay with that? Like the direction God is taking me, are you willing to come with me? Because if God has me on an assignment and he has something for me to do, and like your mate, like the male that he may not agree, and he may feel threatened or intimidated, but he needs to understand that, okay, you're approaching me, this is my life. If we are together as one, in a unity, yes, I'll make compromises, but in this stage in my life, I will not. So it's like the person that's for me will align, and I believe God will align his life with mine so that there would be no collisions.
Just to add to that, I am a person, even before, if I'm in a relationship or not, I've always been one to do things by myself. I'm okay with going to a movie, going to dinner, concert, whatever the case may be. I'm comfortable with that. And so that person would have to understand that I'm okay, doing things together, but also I'm comfortable in who I am. And so, that's something I think people kind of grapple with, to your point of loneliness. I don't think it's about loneliness per se so much. I think it's about knowing who you are, being comfortable with yourself. And you can do things by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. But also to your point too, you just don't want someone just to have someone, to say I have somebody. And so that's another part of loneliness too, because you can be with somebody, but are y'all really together? You can be with somebody and still be lonely. I think that's another misconception people don't understand. Yeah, you got somebody, but y'all ain't really, we don't see no energy, no connection is there. And that's another type of loneliness. So before you say you want to be with someone, make sure you're comfortable with yourself, doing stuff by yourself, going places, events, things like that, and showing up by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Going to a restaurant, sitting down, having dinner. And then when the person comes along, you know how to be comfortable with you and them. So not just having the sake of just having somebody. I think that's what society has, this thing of you got to have somebody just to have somebody.
You have to make sure your somebody isn't for everybody. So that's why it's important. It's important because, yeah.
I can say I'm comfortable with being alone right now. Definitely like kind of just piggyback off of them. Really getting comfortable in who you are. Like going to certain things by yourself. And so once you invite that other person, it's kind of just when they align, not just anybody, but once the things align, it'll be nothing, and it'll be good. It'll be good. That's it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Huge on protecting my peace. Huge. I think that peace of mind, tranquility, all of that is the most important thing in order for you yourself to be successful, in order to reach a point where when the time does come for a partner, you can be the best partner possible, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm big on peace.
Well, with that in mind, because a lot of times when people break up, there are times that people actually go crazy. If you ever look on social media, people are losing their mind because they didn't really, back to the first question, they didn't invest in themselves first. So now when they leave you, you made them a god. So I think it's very important to know how to deal and understand your relationship with God before you even get in a relationship with somebody else. So I really appreciate you guys on that. Baby, you got something else?
Yeah, so the next question talks about, and you mentioned it earlier, but sometimes society looks at singles to look like they have it all together. Like, you can do all the things, you ain't got nothing tying you down, you can, live your life. But how does your faith help you stay mentally strong and resilient during seasons of loneliness or stress?
I think that it reminds me that I'm not necessarily lonely. I think, Isaiah, you said like having your devotion in the morning and spending time, like when you really spend time, not just on having religion, but like Pastor Josh, you always say this all the time, having a real relationship, I think you can kind of recognize that you're never really alone, which in my opinion helps the most with that.
Yeah, to add to that, you have to look at it from both sides. Loneliness sometimes it does creep in. Let's be honest, human. But you have to make sure, you're never, to your point, you're never alone. God is always with you. And so when you keep that at the forefront, that helps you let other things creep in, like comparison can creep in. When you look at other people, other things, social media, scrolling, seeing stuff. And so you have to just stay grounded in God first. How do you start your day? Reading a devotional, or either are you part of a prayer ministry, a group, or whatever, like-minded people to keep you going, because you don't want to get too in the weeds of, still haven't gone out, haven't met anyone. And it's real, it can happen. Those thoughts do come in, but you got to make sure you are grounded to when those thoughts do come in, because they will come. Nothing's perfect, but you have to make sure you have the tools in your toolkit to help you overcome those thoughts, or overcome those feelings of, gosh, somebody else got married, or, date here, date there, or whatever you see, right? It's so many different things that are being thrown at us. And so you have to just make sure you are grounded in the Word, staying connected in the Word. And when you pick up that phone first thing in the morning, not just scrolling, but going to your devotional Bible app. They got so many plans. I'm doing one right now. And so just staying focused on that, and that will help you overcome those feelings or things that may come into your mind, and trying to compare yourself, because comparison is definitely a thief. Don't ask me how I know, because I continue to overcome. Now, I'll be honest, every now and then it creeps in. Every now and then the devil will come, and he is there. He has some words to say, but you got to make sure you stay grounded, and that helps me a lot.
Yeah, like I said, the main thing about comparison, and I can speak for my generation, is social media. I know I've experienced it myself, and so like with knowing that like everything, the grass ain't greener on the other side. I was kind of telling my dad this yesterday. I was like, the grass not greener on the other side. Like, yeah, they seem like they doing everything, but it's God with them, Like, and so like with the place of loneliness, like I think Pastor Josh was saying this earlier this morning. It's like God gonna get you to a place where you have to think about Him. Like you can't idolize nobody else. Oh, I gotta be with this person. I gotta be with that person, because you start developing all these little habits, and God's just like, nah. Like you gotta be alone, but you gotta be with me. And so like we can't see Him, but that's the part of like developing our faith and everything. And I'm learning that as I speak. But just developing our faith in a time of isolation. But yeah, just staying off of the socials and doing all that time. Like it's been times where I've been on TikTok for hours and I seen nothing but couples. I'm like, dang, I ain't really doing nothing. But then I gotta remember, I can't compare it, and I don't know what their relationship is like with God first and foremost. And you can portray it to be anything, but if God's not in it, then it's really nothing. So I try to just embrace the fact that I'm alone, and I have my time with God and everything, and doing my thing. So yeah.
I can honestly say I am not lonely. Like I've been lonely before, and I am single, but I'm not lonely. I'm actually very happy. Like seriously, I'm at a really good space, but that took time. It took me building a relationship with God, like a firm, like a solid, like relationship with God. It took me, like when we go through things, we have to grow through them, but we have to for me, I think I've been through so many things. It built a resilience. So as a result, it's hard for things to affect me the way they did to, say, my younger self. So my now more mature self, I feel great. And I also think feeling good, I think when you get to the point where you feel the way I'm feeling, that's when you're closer to getting to that marriage, or because I don't feel like God would well, he has, well, I don't know if it was him. Broken people have gotten together and gotten married, but I don't know if it was necessarily God. So when I'm waiting for God to send my Boaz to me, right? But in order for him to send him to me, the man that I want, I have to be whole, all the way put together. And I feel like if I'm not there, I'm so close because I feel so good. And I think like inner peace, because when you don't have inner peace, then, you might look the part on the outside, but eventually what's in will come out. And yeah, I just feel good. And I think it's important for singles to know that you can be single and happy. You really can. And no, I'm not the strong, black, independent woman. I don't need anybody. I can do it by myself. That's not my story. That's not what I'm saying. Because I want to be married. I do. I desire to be married. And God knows that that's my desire. But I want it to be right. Like, I want the matrimony to be holy. Because to be completely honest, I could have been married a few years ago. But I knew, I'm like, nah. Like, could I do it? And that goes back to society. From a societal standpoint, I could have done it to fit the mold, to fit in and look like him and look like her. But I really knew, I'm like, no, it's not, don't do that. So I had to walk away from that. And I think God will reward that. I believe it, so.
Well, with that in mind, I do know that if we all focus on social media, everybody's showing their highlights and nobody shows their lowlights. So everybody shows how great their marriages are. They wearing their matching clothes. You got Valentine's Day coming up, Christmas coming up, and everybody got everything looking so glamorous. But reality is, it's not actually what it seems. So I really commend you and your thoughts on how it is to be single at the same time. But I do know the enemy is always after us through comparison. I like what you said. He'll have you somewhere depressed. He'll have you somewhere feeling anxiety because you're thinking, why don't I have this? And God is saying, you better be grateful that you're alone by yourself, because if you got what you think you need, then you'll lose your mind over it. So a lot of times people, we've been married, been blessed to stay together, but we know so many couples that got married and within a year they got a divorce. So you have to be really prayed up, spending a lot of time with God, asking God, is this the right one, baby? You better pick it back before I get this talking too long. So there can be times and places that people really want the image, but they don't want to spend the time behind the scenes to make the image a reality. So do you got it?
Oh my God. So what advice would you give to someone struggling to find purpose or fulfillment during their single years?
Now y'all need some help.
Well,
So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I think it goes back what I said too. I am really big on, and a lot of my friends tell me, like, they commend me, even my coworkers. I'm big on self-care, investing. I'm gonna keep using that word, investing in myself. You gotta know who you are first. Invest in pouring yourself, because you can't pour into anybody else. You can't pour into someone else if you're not pouring into yourself. I'm really big on that. I like to protect my peace. To your point, boundaries. Saying no is a complete sentence. I'm big on that too. And so all of that is wrapped into just that constant realigning yourself, reinvesting until the time is right. So then going back to your point too, when you're ready to pour into somebody else, you have all the tools you need and you're successful. You can do that because you've invested so much intentional time with yourself and knowing that whose you are, like you said, and just making sure you are ready when that point comes. I'm just big on investing in myself and just constantly rebuilding. If there's an area that needs more refinement, working on it, because nobody's perfect. We all got something to work on. And just that constant readjustment, realignment is very important.
Some advice I give somebody that's struggling. like you said, invest in yourself, but also like finding yourself. Like really know who you are in God and in yourself too. So if you don't have an education, go to school, because and all the whole nine. Because if you do get with somebody and you're not ready, like Pastor Josh said, it's gonna show, and it's gonna be pretty ugly for you. Like, and you'll wish, you're like, man, I should have listened to my pastor. I should have listened to God. So yeah, I think like when you really gotta find yourself in that time, and don't try to idolize other people. Or like I said, like I was thinking the other day, don't put people on a pedestal. In my case, don't put girls on no pedestal. For high school kids, whatever you at, even in college, because once you do that, then that you already messed up and you got to come back. So I just said, just really find yourself and everything. So
Live chat, can you do me a favor before they answer that question? Can you do me a favor, live chat? Can you put one thing in the live chat that you can do to invest in yourself? Help us in the live chat, because I know we're live on Facebook and YouTube. So I need you to do me a favor to put one thing that you do to invest in yourself. It might be you go to the salon, you might go running, jogging, but we need to know. So I need all those within the comment section. It should be about 20 of y'all right now putting down one thing. Hear me, live chat. One thing that you do to invest in yourself. You go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's a never-ending process. Like, you constantly have to work on yourself. You constantly have to, it's like maintenance. Like, you could need spiritual maintenance, you can need mental maintenance, but you won't ever get to the point where you've arrived and there's nothing else for you to do. And if someone tells you that, they're not telling you the truth. So it's ongoing. Just know, it goes back to really knowing who you are, like finding yourself. Like, because when you get with your partner, you want to bring something to that relationship. You also want to keep him. Like, so he needs to know who you are, what you bring, your interests, so you can find things to do. And it's also important to I just keep saying this because this happened to me once. Don't lose yourself. Don't lose your identity. It is so very important to have your own mind, your outlets, like know your abilities, know your strengths, and know your weaknesses. Because if you do not, someone will tell you what they are. So, yes.
I think that my advice would be focusing on the inside versus the outside. And what I mean by that is a lot of times when I was attempting to build myself or construct myself or find my purpose even into somebody or something, the idea that I had that would be perfect for somebody that I saw myself with in the future, I would focus a lot on the exterior. So appearance, title, what I do, or how I'm portrayed or how I'm seen, da-da-da-da. But like my biggest advice, like I said, would be focusing on the inside. So things that you have to deal with from your past, how you react to certain things, just whatever. Like inside, my biggest advice is starting inside out.
That's good. That's good. So we talked about how social media has such a negative impact on staying focused, right? So with that, we know that like some of the over-sexualized messages being sent out on social media kind of impact how we see ourselves, how we see our relationships, and where we want to see ourselves. So how do you approach conversations about physical and emotional boundaries with potential partners, especially when biblical principles guide your choices?
I think you have to be upfront from the very beginning. Like you have to let somebody know that this is what I'm willing to do, this is what I'm not willing to do, these are my boundaries. This is what I like for myself, and it kind of negates and gets all of the issues that could be problematic later on out of the way. Like you completely eliminate it early on. If you guys agree, then cool, we move forward. If we don't, then it was nice to take up this time, but I think that we should go in different directions.
His people are not perfect. I know I'm not, but like I said, like I kind of like went back to. I'm kind of going back to my point before. Like I kind of find it a little, found it a little weird to add God into like a relationship. So like I would know, and I was like, yeah, God, I love you, but like it would just be my temptation. It'd really be my temptation. And so like when I had those experiences, sometimes they went the way I did. went my way, sometimes they didn't. And then like I had to just sit down and figure out, like, I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Like, and what I was doing wrong wasn't listening to God. Like, I will always go back into sin. And so now, like, that's why I said, like, my journey with God, like, it's always been there. Like, but it's just like, everybody got to grow. And like Tasha said, the process never don't stop. So, at 22 years old, this is probably like we're in the peak of someone's time where they really like, out there. But like, I got to bring myself back. I'm like, okay, if I want to be blessed by God, if I want to have all these things, pray all these things, that's not a relationship or whatever. And even in a relationship, I got to put God first. And, Pastor Teal said, once you submit to him, he'll give you the desires of your heart. So that's now my motivation in really breaking everything down in my life and just, going forward with momentum and everything.
To add to that, so Jonathan McReynolds, he's one of my favorite artists. He has a song called Cycles, and very powerful song, and it's real to what we all have just said. You got to make sure whatever the expectation is that you're looking for, you're setting up the proper boundaries so you repeat the same cycles that you've done before in the past, and making sure that if you do repeat, because life happens, right? Things happen. Everybody's trying to do the right thing every day, but making sure that you are setting the tone, the foundation for what you want, what you won't tolerate, and what's the expectation, and not settling. That's important. And I think to your point too, like you said, just making sure those boundaries are set. This is the expectation. Have that conversation early on, and making sure we follow what is set here.
Okay, I agree with what everyone said, the boundaries and everything, and also your self-respect, your morals. But just to keep it real, don't set yourself up. Like, be smart. Don't put yourself in certain situations, because as much as you love God and you pray and all the things, you're flesh at the same time. So don't if he makes you go crazy, and you're trying to stay pure, you're trying to keep yourself, well, I really don't think going with him over the weekend is a good idea. You already know what's going to happen. So you have to be smart. You have to use discernment and just don't set yourself up for failure.
So in other words, you're saying that when you're dating, you don't, I'm trying to, so you're saying when you're dating, you're not going to go to someone's house at a certain time. What if they say, well, hey, y'all could come, let's Netflix and chill. So if we're in that moment, if we're in that type, because I just want to be honest for those who are really in the situation, they're single and they're trying to figure it out. So if somebody says, let's Netflix and chill, let's go and kick it in the room and just relax for a little bit. How do you manage, that type of conversation, if we can be honest on the panel?
Well, first of all, Netflix and chill is not a date. That's just me. That's just my standard. That is not a date. If you are trying to go out with me or date me, where are we going? What are we doing? I got my own Netflix at my house. I got my own chill. I got my own stuff I like to binge watch. So that's not a date. So that's a hard stop for me. I mean, that's a hard no for me. I just tell you up front, it won't be happening. I mean, I can do that in my own house by myself. I'm good. And that sets the tone for what I expect. That's not me. That's not what I expect. I expect, and I'm not saying you have to have a dozen roses every day. I'm saying that's nice, but let's go out. Let's do things. I'm an adventurous person, new experiences, and so if somebody's setting that expectation, that tone early on about Netflix and chill, that ain't no. It's a hard stop. You won't hear from me again. We moving on. That's just me.
Definitely, that's, like she says, definitely red flags. But I think that, let me see, I kind of lost my thought a little bit. But what was the question, Pastor, again? The last part of the question.
If someone wants to Netflix and chill,
yeah.
That one. Is that one?
Huh?
Yeah.
I didn't want to cut it off.
Like you're not in a situation where you like overwhelmed by temptation.
Right. Yeah, I didn't want to cut him off. Yeah, I got your question. I didn't want to cut him off. I think, like personal growth, like you said, like the time with yourself, personal growth, like really understanding, all right, God, like, I don't need to be doing this, and and like, I kind of want to like jump into another subject, but I don't, but I'm gonna just go into it. Like, if that person is like, okay, so if that person, like you started off doing stuff like that, like really just sexualizing, having those conversations, but then like, when you get in a place where you start to hear less of those conversations, I feel like, I'm not saying, it's a perfect marriage, but I'm just saying, like, that's a potential green flag to me, because it's like you're growing. So you're not putting sexual stimulation in my mind. Now you're giving me, like, the biblical principles, like, the right thing to do. You know what I mean? So I think, like, that, like, when I see that in a person, that's like, okay, that's a green flag. Like, if she's trying to tell me, like, we don't need to do this no more, we don't need to do that no more, I think that's growth and everything. But yeah, like you said, you can't, if you want the things of God, or if you want, the stuff that you pray for, we're not perfect, but I feel like, self-control, fruits of the spirit come in at that point. So yeah.
Oh, good. I love it.
Self-control, fruit of the spirit.
Keeping it real.
Keep it real.
Keeping it real.
Keep it PG.
I think, no, I got you. I think what Tasha said is huge. Like, don't set yourself up for failure. So, obviously, it's inevitable. At some time, like, we're all human. Temptation is going to happen. You're going to be in that situation. But for me, I realized as I got older, the perfect way to not fail in that situation is to avoid the situation by finding other things to fulfill that time with. So I started finding, like, and I would go by myself at first, like, just to feel my way out before I even went with somebody. But going to museums, like, going to the park is really not bad, and it doesn't cost money. Like, we can walk around, we can spend time with each other, we can chill, like, we chilling, like, you know what I'm saying? And at this point, I'm really getting to know you as a human, and you're really getting to know me as a human. Whereas we don't fall into the trap of lust, which is real. Lust is real, like, and it can be confused with love all the time. And it happens. Like I said, I'm being real. It happens. So yeah, that's my piece on that.
And also, when you don't give people what they want, that's when you can see who they really are. So yeah, it's a lot in that. But still, don't set yourself up.
Okay, so with 50% of Black adults not having ever been married, so and that's another thing, because I know sometimes you talked about comparison, and people try to make it seem like, oh, that's the golden, like, to be married, that's the ultimate thing, and that's cool. But sometimes the journey of being single is the most beautiful thing. It's really the beauty that really helps you to enjoy it when you do get into that marriage. So with that being said, how do you be patient, like, when family and they're making comments saying, like, when you get married, how are you patient with God's timing on finding your spouse?
I think it's big. I think it all has to do with your priorities. Me being at a different phase in life, like, that's not necessarily my priority right now. So even when I hear comments like that, like marriage, kids, giving your parents grandkids, like, like, it doesn't really bother me. Like, if you're in a place where you're prioritizing yourself in your life, I think that that's okay, and you just have to remind yourself that that's okay. You have to be your own advocate at some point. Like, you have to stick up for yourself. And I'm big on letting things or comments or whatever, I'm big on letting stuff roll off my back like water.
I think to piggyback off of Jamon, like, I'm in the same phase as well, not thinking about marriage per se, because, we are still young, so I'm still in that phase of growing and learning and everything. So yeah, so it doesn't bother me, but it gives me a mental note, you know what I mean, and everything.
I would say prayer. Patience is something I know for me. I got much better with patience. When I was younger, gosh, patience was not there. But I think with the background, the work that I do, patience over time has helped me and has overflowed into my own personal life. And so I think prayer and patience, definitely staying prayed up. I keep saying this, but staying in the Word, staying, reading before you read anything else, devotional, staying connected to a Bible plan, anything that helps with that. And so you're not making that an idol, because it can become an idol if you obsess about it day and night over and over. But you got to make sure you stay in prayer, stay grounded. Going back to, I keep saying it, I'm going to keep saying investing in things in yourself, hobbies, and then eventually things fall into place like they're supposed to, because you're growing as a person. God is orchestrating your life, meeting the right people, connecting you to the right things that'll push you into purpose in the plan that He has for you. So, just intentionally staying connected with those things, and everything will work out. And that patience will continue to grow and get even better.
I believe that all good things take time. Like anything that's good, because I like quality. I love high quality things, like all things. So that includes relationships as well. It could be something as lower level as a friendship or as high level as a marriage, but I need quality. And then I look at myself, like I self-reflect a lot. And I look at all the things that God is doing to me and through me, and like where he brought me from and where he's taking me to, and how much time it's taken. And so I tell myself that he is somewhere doing the same thing to my husband. And when he get us both built up to the same level, then our paths will cross. To me, it's just a trust the process type thing. And like right now, I'm just trusting the process.
Well, we're so thankful again for this panel, and we're so grateful. Can you do me a favor in the live chat? Can you put some hand clap emojis for this panel that we had today? We're so grateful to have them, because we believe we're so grateful that this ministry is focused on one of the things is marriage, but we're grateful that we have singles, because we love to hear from them and want to make sure even in this month of February that we continue to give God glory for every walk of life, especially when you're trying to follow Christ. So we thank God for each and every one of you, even if you're married. Hopefully some of these tips help you continue to focus on what God has for you as an individual, because you are an individual. Like what somebody said earlier, you don't need to create your identity in somebody else. So I'm so thankful for these nuggets that you have gotten from these singles. Again, we're so grateful for each and every one of you. Before we close out, again, we want to encourage you to like and share this message. Let someone know about what God has said through this platform. And we're getting ready to pray. Can we pray together? Let us pray. Father God, we just thank you. We thank you for this opportunity, God, for us to seek you in your word, God. We thank you for each and every one of these leaders that's on this platform, God. We ask you to continue to lead them and guide them to the direction that you want to have them on. God, we thank you for this platform, God. We thank you for you. And God, we thank you for the miracles, signs, and wonders that's going to take place. God, we give you glory. God, we give you honor. And God, we give you all the praise. And in Jesus' name, amen. Family, we thank you, and we'll see you at the next one. See you soon.